I'm back, and I just want to make mention, and I apologize for my short, 4 or 5 week hiatus. I was battling some severe eye infections and some skin cancer stuff that had to be surgically removed. So that's all done. I'm cleared for liftoff, and I'm back. There's so much to talk about. I probably won't get to it all. I'm more fucking frustrated and angry than I have been in the recent past because things seem to be getting worse instead of better. Just a litany of stuff with the politics in Washington, D.C. and the Trump administration. Building ballrooms and monuments to the president / king, Donald J. Trump, is just a nauseating and sickening kind of new feature that we're dealing with here, aside from his lack of ethics and lack of concern, and really his total disregard for what Americans think. He acts on his own, he does for his own, and I've had it, the bullshit with there's no commentary about the war that makes sense. They send out videos like that a U.S. submarine shot a missile and sank, or a torpedo and sank an Iranian battleship, like this is some World War II propaganda movie. It's really fucked up. I can't yell and scream about it anymore because it's so fucked up. The incompetence in his administration, the dirtbags that he's chosen to help him run the nation. And, I guess the joke of the week is that Howard Lutnick will voluntarily submit to a behind closed doors session of his testimony regarding the Epstein affair as we get ever closer to Donald J. Trump's escapades and proof of the real dirtbag that he is. And then, of course, I'd like to kind of review and catch up with some of the local news here. Local politics is as hilarious as ever because red people will only vote red because they're anti-blue, and blue people are afraid to vote, period. And we all know what red and blue means. It's not the Bloods and the Crips. It's the Democrats and the Republicans, both of which, party-wise, are damaging our nation. They can't think about the future. They can't look to the future, and they can't legislate for a better future. So anyway, in regards to this, we spoke about this. We had some guests on the show talking about this local high school hazing of a football player. And it was more like a kidnapping and life-threatening circumstance. Well, anyway, all those high school kids, all those assholes of legal age and not, have no ramifications. The story and the facts went to a grand jury, and the grand jury ignored the significance of it with no logic and no concern for the kind of precedents they set for the people of this state and of that community and the school. So these kids that committed these acts of violence and threats against another young man, and all the people that are on both sides of that equation, it's all for naught. Bad behavior needs to be punished. I mean, and when the president of this country was impeached, Donald Trump was impeached, they let him off the hook. And bad behavior, that just gave him a license to steal, cheat, rob, lie, and do whatever the hell he wants to do as the con man that he is. But that filters down to the local levels. where people just won't do the right thing. They can't. They don't know how anymore. Or they're too scared because of some other fraudulently corrupt, astoundingly pathetic people cannot see right and wrong. And, sometimes it's a gray area, but in certain circumstances like this hazing, it's not a gray area at all. They locked this kid in, they stripped him down, they shot BB gun or pellet guns at him. This kid was scared to death. And there was no indictment, which means nobody gives a shit about the kid who was physically and mentally injured by this, but they took no action against the guilty parties, so they walk scot-free. And it's astounding to me how these people could go to church every Sunday and talk about how good they are and how righteous they are. They're nothing but scumbags. We cannot promote bad behavior as a country, as a community, as a culture. We should not promote negative, bad behavior. And again, since our leader practiced bad behavior regularly, I could understand why people at the local level don't take the right kind of action. Same thing with the church. The poor old ladies that were kicked out of church because they asked questions about the church's finances. How do you get kicked out of church for asking the pastor or the rabbi or the priest what's going on with the money? Who's running the money? What's it doing? What are we doing? We give you our hard-earned money to support the church, and yet you won't tell us what you're doing with it. That's fucking ridiculous. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. And so I'm glad to be back. I'm going to take some questions. But again, what we got going on is I'm like living in a nightmare. I take a few weeks off. It gets worse. And I really don't, I'm running out of steam. I got so much anger and frustration that it's wearing me out. It's not, and I don't want it to wear me out because I have to keep speaking about it so that other people can start speaking about it and talk about the other things in their lives and their world that piss them off, because these things piss me off. And I really want to move forward with some other things because I don't seem to be making any progress with the president and his administration. The impact that he's having on America is so bad, as he would say, huge. It's hugely bad. And I hope that his addiction to McDonald's will serve us well. Thank you. But moving on, I think I got a couple of questions or a couple of statements that I could comment on.
Yes, you sure do. So there are some concerned listeners over tech and the AI backlash that's happening, a tech controversy that's circulating. Some users are angry about the reports of having the Pentagon in partnership with involving OpenAI.
Okay, so Anthropic or Anthropic or whatever it's called, and Chat and AI and Palantir and all of these AI companies are running wild. I think there's a lot at risk with AI and how it should be managed or entertained. It's a very nice technology in some ways and a very dangerous technology in other ways. But again, when it came to the government kicking Anthropic out, it was purely because the Trump administration did not have the agreement of Anthropic's leadership to do what they wanted to do in the governmental way, which is probably spying and finding evidence or manufacturing evidence for different reasons, for different circumstances. And I applaud Anthropic for passing on that opportunity to have a big contract with the government.
All right. Across the US, people are still venting about groceries staying expensive, insurance premiums rising, especially with home and auto, and interest rates that are keeping our mortgages high. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so the cost of living is a problem. You know, in Washington, they seem to think that there are only billionaires and 401k millionaires, and, you know, things are not that bad. But you're right. Insurance premiums are through the roof. A lot of that has to do with climate. Food, groceries are through the roof, and a lot of that has to do with climate. Gasoline is still very expensive in most places, and now with the war in the Middle East, it's complicating that, and it has jumped quite a bit recently. But again, we don't know where that's going to sit long term. Inflation is still a problem, and it shows in many aspects. But, you know, middle America is getting crushed, and they can't afford to buy cars. They can't buy homes. And it's not just an interest rate thing. It's just the fact that everybody is so oversubscriptioned and indebted that, it's really becomes difficult to buy a $100,000 car, which is becoming the average car. So, yeah, it's a fucking nightmare, and it's a fucking mess. And Washington kind of ignores that shit because, they're like, well, in order to save money, what we should do is take benefits away from people that need them. That's the logic in Washington. And, I think we should rise up and start letting them know how fucking pissed off we are. Something's got to change. And healthcare inflation has been through the roof for years. And that's a major part of the economy, major part, not just drugs, hospitalizations, and the cost of insurance and insurance versus cash payments and how to bill through this system and that system. It's all fucked up. And I think that it's because of its complexity and because they have to, or certain industries have to inflate prices so they could end up with the actual price they need to conduct business and to make a profit. So there are a lot of forces at work here, and inflation is here to stay, and the cost of goods is only going to go up, and especially when there's a lot of climate type issues involved.
All right, we got the final concerning question, and that is back to AI and AI taking jobs. What are your thoughts? There's huge anger debates online talking about writers, designers, and tech workers worried about AI replacing our jobs, creators upset about their work being used to train AI, and schools are debating whether students should use AI tools. Okay, so, it's amazing. AI and robotic technology are very advanced. They're exciting. I like watching, I saw a video of some Chinese robots doing martial arts. It was incredible. As far as that of AI and robots taking jobs, without a doubt, it's going to affect certain sectors of the economy much worse than others. But I think that it's one of these things that we have to face, and we have to probably re-educate people and retool people to be able to find some other means to make a living. We can't keep creating more poor people in this country. That's severely detrimental. So that's, to me, an educational matter. But with progress comes opportunity, not just calamity. So I thank you. I'm glad to be back, and I will be more clear and more lucid the next time. And it's just good to be back, so I have a venue to bitch and moan. But it's sad. They talk about this war that's going on like it's no big deal, and it's going to be just
a 3 or 4 day war or a 5-day war. This is not going back to 1970s when Israel had the 6-day war with Egypt. It's far different than that, far bigger than that, and far riskier than that. So I wish us all well, and I'll be back soon for another episode. And Texas Tim will be back, and he needed a hiatus for some personal reasons, and looking to come back next week. Thank you.